Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Great to have you with us again. Today, we're digging into a cybersecurity event that's, well, less about some brand new super complex exploit and maybe more about a timeless lesson: misconfiguration. We're focusing on the active exploitation of a zero-day and older Sitecore setups, that's CVE-2025-53690, and this really sophisticated backdoor they're calling WeepSteel. And this isn't just another vuln report, right? It's a really clear example of how basic setup mistakes can blow up into a full compromise. It lays out an attacker playbook that, honestly, all of us in security need to really understand. Okay, so let's unpack this main vulnerability first, because it's kind of fascinating how simple the root cause is. We're talking CVE-2025-53690. It's flagged as a view state deserialization issue. Now, many of you working with ASP.NET know view state, right? Client-side state. And yeah, deserialization vulns are a known thing. But here's the kicker. This isn't actually a flaw in ASP.NET itself. Nope. The real problem. A pretty basic misconfiguration, specifically reusing a sample ASP.NET machine key.
Get this, it was published in Sitecore's own documentation way back, before 2017. Never meant for production, but there was. In live systems, it's like, I don't know, building Fort Knox and leaving the default 12.3.4 code on the main vault. So attackers, they just craft these malicious view state payloads, and because of that shared key, they look totally legit. The system deserializes it, and bang, remote code execution, RCE. Mandiant saw them hitting the Sitecore block.aspios endpoint specifically. It exposes an unauthenticated view state field. Perfect target. And boom, they get RCE running as the ICE network service account, which, you know, is a pretty significant foothold on the web server.
Yeah, it's really quite striking how this sample key, just sitting in documentation for years, suddenly becomes this critical attack path that just hammers home that persistent danger of static default configs.
Yeah.
Especially in, mature environments. Systems set up ages ago and maybe not revisited. It's the classic set it and forget it problem biting back. Hard.
Exactly. But okay, getting that first RCE wasn't the end game here, was it? What really makes us stand out is the attack chain that came next. Once they were in, they didn't just grab data and bolt. No, they set up shop, starting with this really stealthy reconnaissance tool, WeepSteel. And this thing is clever. It gathers all the usual info host details, processes, disk info, network config, but then it hides its tracks brilliantly. It disguises the data it's sending out to look just like normal view state responses.
Yeah, with blending.
We saw the usual recon commands log, WAMI, hostname, task list, ifconfig all, netstat, ANA, standard stuff. But that exfiltration method, that's smart evasion.
Oh, definitely. And if you map this whole sequence to something like the AMITE or AKT&CK framework, it lines up almost perfectly. You see the initial access, the execution, persistence, privilege escalation, defense evasion with that view state trick, and then exfiltration. It points to a methodical and pretty well-resourced attacker. They knew what they were doing. After that initial recon with WeepSteel, they brought in other tools: Earthworm for tunneling and setting up SOCKS proxies, Dwagent for remote access, even 7-zip, probably for staging data before sending it out.
Staging, yeah. Makes sense.
And for privilege escalation, they tried creating local admins, saw names like Aspit and SolidMin. They dumped cache SAM and system hives. Tried token theft with GoToken theft.
Wow, okay. They really went for deep control.
Absolutely. And persistence, too. Yeah. Disabling password expiration, enabling RDP, registering Dwagent as a system service. This wasn't like a quick smash and grab. It was planned. A multi-stage operation.
That view state exfiltration, is that actually hard to spot? Even with, say, modern EDRs or good network monitoring, how sneaky are we talking?
It can be, yeah. Really subtle.
Yeah.
Especially if the target site generates a lot of legitimate view state traffic anyway. If you're not specifically looking for weirdness inside the view state data itself, or you don't have, advanced behavioral tools looking for anomalies, it could easily just drown in the noise.
Okay. So let's talk impact and fixes. Who needs to worry? We're looking at Sitecore Experience Manager XM, Experience Platform XP, Experience Commerce XC, and Managed Cloud. But specifically versions up to 9.0, and critically, only if they were deployed using that old sample machine key from the pre-2017 docs. Good news is the newer stuff, XM Cloud, Content Hub, CDP, Order Cloud, etc., they're not affected by this specific issue. So the guidance from Sitecore and Mandiant seems pretty clear, right? Basic hygiene, almost.
Not much.
1, swap out any static keys in web.config immediately, use unique ones. 2, encrypt the view state user key element in web.config, add another layer. And 3, just generally make rotating machine keys a regular practice, best practice anyway.
Exactly. The fix itself is straightforward, though urgent for those affected. But the bigger question this raises, I think, is, well, how did this happen in the first place? What does this teach us about managing older systems, about the security impact of documentation, even seemingly harmless sample code? from years ago. It kind of forces you to think about security beyond just the latest flashy exploit. It's often about the fundamentals, the foundations.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. The core lesson really is that danger of misconfiguration. It persists. And the need to be really meticulous, even with systems that seem stable, that have been running for years. As security folks, we're often chasing the novel threats, the 0 days. But this is a sharp reminder. Sometimes the biggest risks are hiding right there in plain sight. Basic setup mistakes. So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. As you look at your own environments, how many other sample configs forgotten settings might be lurking, waiting for someone to notice? Definitely something to consider. Thanks for tuning into this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.